Please welcome to the stage Billy Spirey.
I'm gonna ask a question. Please answer if you can. I want somebody to tell me, what is the soul of a man? I'm Billy, and I'm a blues man. Blind Billy Blue is what they call me on stage. And I'm a blues man because I have found the answer of how to feed my soul, of how to be enough through my music, through my voice, and through what I've discovered about my soul. I think we all have what we call a superpower or a gift. You know, there's a lot of things that we think of when we think of a superpower. It might be somebody with a cape flying over a city, that's one thing. But for me, a superpower is something that I think we all share, every one of us. We all have one. And a superpower is that thing that comes from within inside of you that's natural. You know, it's something that when you do it, it makes you feel fulfilled. It's like breathing when you discover it and really embrace it. I'm going to ask you something. I want you to think for a second about an experience you've had in your life. You may have had one recently. It may be something that happened to you a long time ago, but something that's memorable. A time when you did something where it made you feel special, where it made you feel curious, surprised, inspired, fulfilled. Just hold that for a minute and think about how you felt. I want you to think about that. And what I'm also going to help you hopefully understand is when you think of that moment, the odds are you were in your superpower. You were feeling it because it came from within here. There's a couple of things that tell us about our superpower in life, in my experience. One is that feeling, that heart voice is what I refer to it as. When it comes from inside of us. The other source are the people in our lives. I call them my angels. I'm not talking about celestial beings with wings necessarily, but I'm talking about the people that come across our path that we experience maybe every day or once in a lifetime, that tell us something about ourselves. They look at us and for whatever reason they can recognize our superpower and they invite us to embrace it through what they do. It might be to ask us to participate or just to thank us for what we've given them. Hold on to that too, because those two things, the heart, voice, and your angels, those are important. I want to talk about expectations a little bit too. Now, here we go back in memory again. I want you to think of a time, and this was probably a while ago for most of you, when you didn't measure up to an expectation, specifically maybe of your parents. Your parents had an expectation of you that was important. It might have had to do with grades. It might have had to do with the career you'd pursue. It might have had to do with the amount of money you made. We don't know, but you do. And I want you to think of that for a second. Has everybody got that in their mind? Everybody got one of those? How'd that make you feel? Did it make you feel shame? Did it make you feel inadequate? Did you feel unworthy? How about in contrast? What about good? Did it make you feel good? Did you feel like self-fulfilled, confident, more confident? I want to hear you. Did any of you feel that? Yes. No. Here's the hard question and the most important question. How many of you today still carry those feelings of shame or inadequacy or unworthiness when you face challenges in your life, when you face crossroads, when you face important decisions in your life? You don't have to tell me, but if you want to, tell me out loud, yes. Those are the fears. Those are the barrier. Those are the things that come up for us that block us from our superpower. And the secret that I've learned, it's about learning to take those fears and thank them for what they give you and put them on a shelf. Because they aren't going to save us from a saber-toothed lion like they might have our ancient ancestors on the savannas of Africa. It's not that kind of fear. It's a fear that rolls around your head. I grew up hustling for my worthiness all the time. You know, I learned quite young that to be respected and admired was my greatest priority. Respected and admired. And if I failed to be respected and admired for what I did or what I said or how I acted, I wasn't enough. That's what I believed based on what I was taught. Another thing is no matter what I do in life, whatever I choose to do, it could be my occupation or an athletic sport that I choose to participate in, do your very best. You must excel. You must strive to excel at all times, because if you don't, you won't be respected. That's how you earn that respect. And then finally, the other thing that was really important that I learned is that vulnerability is bad. Because vulnerability is weakness, and you never show weakness. Never. And so that's how I grew up. I spent most of my life that way. You know, I did discover this gift of mine, this voice, pretty young. You know, and it was interesting because I discovered that voice of mine, well, if I let it come from a certain place inside of me, it gave me what I needed, which was that affirmation that I sought my whole life as a kid, trying to be included, trying to be accepted, trying to be admired and respected. If I let that voice out and boomed through the room, and if it sounded like it came from my heart, by God, I got that affirmation. But I didn't have much time for it because I'd also learned not to be vulnerable. So I spent my whole life chasing practical. Practical, I heard somebody say, practical is another word for fear. It's a hide word. Yeah. And so I chose practical solutions. I thought I had to excel. I thought I had to be the best at anything that I did. And I chose a conservative career. I went into human resources and in management, and that's okay. But except that I hustled all the time, and I thought I had to give my time and my energy and my focus to it. I had 3 beautiful children. I still do. I have someone that I loved when I was young that's no longer part of my life. And that's as a result of the price that we pay when we focus on the wrong things, when we don't listen to, what's it in here, guys? The heart voice. When we don't listen to that first, there's a price to pay, and I paid it. And I grieve for that. My children today still love me, but they're still struggling to find confidence that they know I'll be there for them when they need it, because I wasn't as much as when they were kids, and it hurts. And when my marriage came to an end, I was also barren myself. I had been leaning into my music occasionally, indulgently in my mind, you know, at church, and I'd get that awestruck silence from a congregation because my voice would be ringing through the room. Because I felt it. I let my feelings come out. But it was vulnerable, so there was a conflict in my priorities. And so I'd sing once, and then there'd be months, sometimes years, between when I'd sing again for another funeral or a wedding or for Christmas. And so when I came to the end of my marriage, by that point, my soul was starving. And a good friend of mine, an angel, suggested that I needed to find a way to feed my soul. I'd heard that before, but it didn't really make sense before. But for some reason, being at the bottom, crunching, hitting the very bottom of where I was, helped me see it. And I went back to my music. But I didn't go back to the kind of music that I'd played my whole life. I'd done classical and opera and jazz and contemporary, and I thought I had to be perfect at everything, right? Remember that excellence striving thing? I discovered the blues. And I started listening to the blues, and I started performing the blues at jams, where all these musicians come together and play together. And I realized there's more to it than being perfect. That whole trick I'd learned about letting my feelings come through my voice, it was working. And I didn't have to make sure I knew every note or every lyric. I just had to make sure I understood how to feel it. And I discovered a tribe, these people I played with. And then everything was different. It was different in some ways that I recognized, but there were surprises. There was things about it that were so different. I wasn't hustling for my worthiness anymore. When I was doing that, when I was letting my heart tell me it's time to sing, and I went every single week. I learned music all the time. I was bringing new songs because I never thought I could before because I didn't have time, because I had to be perfect. Now I don't. And the people, I'd come into Max, this club that we sing at and do our jam every week, and these people would say, Billy, let me know when you're going to be on, because I don't want to leave tonight until you're on, because I want to hear you sing. And my tribe, the musicians, that's what really was incredible for me. These people would walk up. I mean, I'm talking about guys and women, men and women who have been playing music their whole life, pros. And these guys would walk up to me as I'm walking in the hall to sign up, and they'd say, hey, Billy, when you get signed up for a set, let me know, because, man, I'd like to try to see if I can get into your set. Jesus. It was, when I was a kid, I was always the 13th guy to get picked on a 12-man team. Not anymore. I wasn't the 13th kid on the team. They wanted me. They wanted to do it with me, and I was bringing it. And one night, it was a hot August night, and it was one of those nights where it's going to be magic. You walk in and there's an energy in the room. It's warm and sweaty, and you can hear glasses clinking and people talking, and that energy of anticipation. They're going to hear some music tonight, and they know just because of what the universe is telling them, it's going to be incredible. And I'd learned a new song. It was by Jeff Beck called Blues Deluxe. And I got up in my set, and I got behind the mic. I don't know too much about love, baby, but I sure got it bad, yeah. I ripped it up. And everybody on stage, it was like electric beams connected between us. It was wild. And the whole set went like that. The whole set. That energy, that intensity. And by the time I got done, I was soaking wet, head to toe, in the best possible way, from sweating, from that warmth. It was delicious. And I felt full, whole, except for one little spot that needed a beer. I was thirsty, and I deserved it. That audience stood up, yelled at me, and told me I was enough. I deserved it in that moment. And I got off that stage and was walking back to the back of the room, back where the bar was. And I'm about to order, and I hear this, hey, Billy. I looked over in my, blind guy kind of looking over thing. And I looked over, and he said, hey, Billy. It was Natty, this guy. One of those guys I was talking about, who's been playing music his whole life. He's 70 years old. He's been playing the blues since he's 13, and it showed. He was incredible. Guitar, bass. And he says, hey, Billy, that was really a good set. You sounded pretty good. Oh, by the way, you heard about this Road to Memphis challenge, this thing where if we win, we go to the International Blues Challenge, the IBC in Memphis? I'd heard of it. As I was up there in my heart was getting full of all that affirmation. I was starting to dream and fantasize a little bit about getting big in music. And so, yeah, Natty, I did. And he said, well, I've been thinking maybe you and I could do a duo. A duo. We could, we got this competition locally here. It's about 2 weeks from now. How about we try that? I had this inclination to look around the room, like, who the heck is he talking to? I was a newbie. I'd been doing the blues for about 8 months. And this room was full of incredible musicians. And Natty was asking me. What was Natty, by the way? Everybody know? You remember what I said earlier, those two things? Can I hear it? He was my angel. He was another one of those important angels. He recognized something in me, and he was putting it in front of me and giving me an opportunity. And, that fear voice, that one that is about expectations, started to try to bark at me and say, dude, you're not ready for this. This is out of your league. But that heart voice of mine had been getting pretty damn strong. And I looked over at Natty and I said, hell yeah, Natty. Let's do this, dude. And he took off in his way. He runs with everything in him and was teaching me music, and we did it. We got there in 2 weeks. We walked into Max again. It was September 14th, 2019. And it was another warm night, a dog day. People were sweating, and the energy was even higher this night because they knew it was a competition. They knew the music was going to be serious. And I could feel it too. And Natty and I got up, and we got on stage, and I'd learned a bunch, and I wanted to get it right. This incredible opportunity to be maybe a blues star, to go to Memphis, Tennessee, and compete in the International Blues Challenge. It meant a lot to me. And when we played music, Natty and I we had to play 5 different songs. And as a blues artist, we played diatonic. And you guys don't need to know the technical part of this, but our harmonicas, every one of them is a different key. So if we do 5 different songs in 5 keys, we got to have 5 different harps. And I have this belt I wear. And we get set up and we have our microphone going. He's got his guitar tuned up, and I get up to the mic and I'm standing there waiting. And Natty goes, "You're ready, dude. We're ready." And the guy said, "You guys ready?" I said, "Yeah." "All right, now live, it's Dusky Blues." We started singing. And I started playing that first song. It was in A, it went well. And I was fitting the count right, and I had the right harp. And I got to the next song. It was a song that Natty wrote, and I had to do harmonies. And I spent a lot of time learning the harmony, the way he wanted it, and the way he wanted that harp riff, and I got it. And I got to the third song, and this is a song that Ray Charles made famous. "I can't stop loving you. I've made up my mind." It's an F. And I reach back and I grab what I'm pretty sure is the F harp, and I pull it up, and Natty starts playing, and I blow, and it's the wrong harmonica. Oh God, my fear voice just blasted into my head, and I'm panicked, and I'm sticking them in my pockets, and I've got harps back here, and I'm pulling them out, and finally in my hand I've got an F harp. And I pull it to my mouth and I play, and we're on, and we finish. And we get through the next 2 songs. And we got a great applause from the audience. They were excited for us and people. And I got off stage and I was walking back to my seat. And all I could think about is that damn harmonica. And that verse that I had to repeat because I forgot the words. And that time when the beat was just a little off. All I could remember is the mistakes. And I knew we weren't going to win. I tried. And, good job, dude. It was a good effort, but you really weren't ready. That's what my fear voice was telling me. And I knew we weren't going to win. And I sat down, and I had a beer, and I took a big swig and enjoyed the music as much as I could. And people are coming up and saying, "We did great. We did great. You guys are going to win." But I knew we weren't. And then it came to the end of the production. And the MC gets up there and he says, "All right, it's time to announce the winners." Kind of a drum rolly thing, and I'm sitting there sipping my beer because I know I'm not going to win anything. And he gets behind the mic and he says, "The winners of the 2019 Road to Memphis Challenge is Dusky Blues." That was us. We were Dusky Blues. Dusky Blues. That was a name I came up with by a song I wrote. Dusky Blues. We won. We were getting mobbed. Natty was over there, we're going to Memphis. And my wife and my kid and my friends, and they're just mobbing me. And I'm just trying to get centered here, right? I'm just trying to get centered because things changed that fast. I was going to frickin' Memphis. I was going to be a blues star. I was a pro. I was going to be playing in Memphis, Tennessee with over 230, 240 the best blues acts in the entire world who collect themselves in Memphis, Tennessee every year to compete in the International Blues Challenge. I don't know if you're blues fans. Some of you may be. But if you are a blues fan, you probably know that Memphis is the home of the blues. It's people consider it that. And it's a big deal. It's a big deal. A lot of pros. People get started there. Well, Natty and I had a lot of work to do, and we did it. We did it. And we were ready. We learned the music. And I was standing on Beale Street. I was standing on Beale Street on this magic place at the end of January in 2020, and I could feel the energy, the magic of this place. I was probably standing near where B.B. King had stood, and Muddy Waters, and Bobby Blue Bland, and Memphis Slim. These people, these giants, icons in the blues, this is where they played. This is where they started. B.B. King's behind me, got joints. There's 6 blocks of the most famous blues halls in the entire world on this little tiny spot in the world called Beale Street. And I was going to be playing at one of those. And there were thousands of people flowing around me, just excited because they knew they were going to hear good music, and you could just feel the vibe. You could smell it and taste it. And music is pouring out of these places. It was out of body. I was standing up, and I was 10 feet in the air looking down at myself. It was magic. Well, Natty and I had to play in 2 days. We had the quarterfinals. You remember what I told you? There's these rules, a lot of them, and not going to go into them, but we had to have everything right. And I wasn't going to screw it up again, like I almost did back home. And we got there, and we were playing in a hall called Mr. Handy's Blues Hall. It's a great hall. It's famous because Mr. Handy is considered father of the blues. Well, I get there. Somebody had to be there early. I got there about 5:30. To sign up. I chose to do that because I wasn't going to screw up anything. I signed up, and we weren't playing until 9:15, and I sat and listened to all the musicians I was competing against that were playing at this place between then and when it was our turn. Probably not the best idea I've ever had, but they were incredible. It was inspiring and terrifying at the same time. And then it was our turn. We had 5 minutes. We got up there. We got set up, and we're standing there getting ready to go. And we got this panel of judges that are blues professionals. Some of them, well, one of our judges was, if you're a blues fan, you'll know the name, Tommy Castro. Famous, really famous. And Tommy looks up and says, "You guys ready?" And I kind of caught my breath because I'm in Memphis, and Tommy Castro's asking me if I'm ready to perform. And Natty goes, "Dude, we have worked hard. You are ready?" I said, "Yeah, we're ready." And we played. And I got that first harp out, and I got the second harp out, and I got the beat right. The music we were had written for this thing, the original stuff, it was all working. And I was pounding it out, and I was listening to his beat and his harmonies. It worked. And we got to the end of the set, and I got off the stage, and I went back and sat down. And something was wrong. Something was wrong, I got used to that feeling, that connection with the audience, and it was missing. I'd been so in my head. I'd been so wrapped up in getting it right that I forgot my cardinal rule, the trick I'd learned, that thing about opening my heart and feeling it, because that's what made me connect. We got a great applause, but I didn't feel it. It was really hard. I felt empty. I felt busted up. Because I knew I'd done it wrong. I'd messed up this opportunity. I'd failed all the people that sent us here, and I needed to go. And we walked on Beale Street for a while, listening to all this music coming out of these places, and I have tears running down my eyes, and finally I realized I'd had enough. I couldn't do it anymore. And we walked back toward the hotel. Well, I got this beautiful guide dog behind me here, this beautiful guide dog. And we needed to relieve them. And so we stopped by this little park on the way back to the hotel, this postage stamp between a couple of big buildings. And we stepped up into the shadows. And all I could feel is the pain. All I could feel is the need for my music. And I stepped back in the shadows, and my harp was in my hand. Somebody was in front of me. Somebody was standing there right in front of me. And he said, "Man, what are you hurting for?" What? I felt his hand on my chest. He said, "What are you hurting for?" I could tell it was probably a black man, an old man. And he had this voice that was firm and clear, but gentle. And he said, "That's where the blues live. All you gotta do is let it out." I'm starting to shake. I said, "Who are you?" He said, "My name is Jimmy Moore." He said, "Brother, you gotta sing like you're playing your harp." I was gonna fall. The world was spinning around me, and his arms were around me, and he was holding me. And I busted open like a dam, heaving, crying. And he held me up until my breath slowed down a little and my heart settled. And Jimmy stepped back from me just a little bit, and he put his hands on my shoulders. It felt like he was caressing my heart with his hands. And he looked into my face. He couldn't have been a foot away. And he sang to me. He sang into me. I was born by a river in a little tent, and just like that river, I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, and I know a change is gonna come. Oh, yes, it is. That song, he was singing it, and I could feel it dropping into my heart. Felt my lips moving. This song, written by Sam Cooke, about the settling, about his people, the suffering. And he was giving me this song, a song that I never thought I could sing as a blind white man because I wasn't worthy. I hadn't suffered enough. And he was teaching me something really important. You know what? It's about giving it away. I believed my whole life that I had to hustle for my worthiness. I had to sing to give it away and get something back in return. He changed everything. It's not. He taught me that if you learn to embrace your superpower and let it be part of who you are, your life will have new dimensions. You'll have more to give to your family, to your work, to the people around you, to your trade, whatever it is you choose to do, and you'll be happier, more content, more fulfilled. And you know what? It won't all be easy. There's going to be problems, but you're going to be more prepared listening to your angels, listening to your angels and your heart voice, and discover your superpower and let it be part of who you are. And things will change for you too. Thank you. Thank you.